Hi, cat. Come and get some mango, baby.
One, two, 1, 2, 3. Self-awareness is a superpower. My name is KathyLaDonna. Welcome to Soul and Vibration. I hope the free thinkers are doing well. And if you're not doing well, I'm happy to remind you that you are the most powerful person that you know. You are the most powerful person that you know because only you can create your reality. So, you guys, Pluto is changing signs. After about 15 years of being in Capricorn, Pluto is moving on March 23rd, 2020, and it will be there for about like the next 21 years or so. It'll be there until 2044. So, of course, Pluto is a generational planet. So its energy, reflects the new generational era that we're moving into. But when I think about generational energy, I feel like it influences everybody. Like even people from a different generation show signs of the current generation because we're like water, we're malleable, we could be influenced. So, as usual, this video is 5 things that I will like to share with you about this Pluto transit. After this video, you can check out my exclusive Patreon Pluto video, how it will affect all, sun rising placements. And the link for that video that's on Patreon will be in the description box below. But let's get into this video. This is 5 things that I want to share with you about this Pluto transit. So the first thing that I want to talk about is Plutarian energy. So Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. Whenever you think of Plutarian energy, think of death and birth in one. When you think of Pluto energy, think of the circle and the momentum that moves that circle. Where when you think of the circle, say of life, just the circle on a whole, you can't tell where the ending or the beginning is because it's constantly, moving in that rotation. And with Pluto energy, I feel is what creates that freshness with the circle, the ending and the beginning, because Pluto reflects the death and it reflects the birth of a thing. And I feel like that brings a level of newness to everything. So with Plutarian energy, wherever Pluto is in your chart, you'll experience a constant death and rebirth when it comes to that thing. It's almost like, there's never any stability when it comes to that thing unless you've come to the place of maturity where you've learned to let go of control when it comes to that thing, because Pluto reflects control also, our need to have control, and control comes out of fear. This is where we hang on tight to something. So depending on where Pluto is in your chart, you could find yourself being extremely controlling in this area. So say you're a part of the Pluto and Libra generation, you could find yourself very controlling when it comes to relationships and connections. Controlling meaning, when it comes to interactions, things are your way or no way. Meaning if someone said they're going to call you at a certain time and they don't call you, even though you're available and you could take that call, you choose not to pick up the phone because like they didn't do what they said they were going to do. So you're going to control this thing. And it's our level of control or need to have control is what causes us not to flourish in the area of where Pluto is. And even though Pluto energy reflects the need for control, it also shows the need to let go of control. Pluto is also an energy that deals with realness in the sense that we can't lie to ourselves or fake anything wherever Pluto is, because even if we lie to ourselves and try to pretend that something is what it isn't, Pluto is going to bring truth there. I think of, say, the last 15 years, how Pluto completely revolutionized the whole Capricorn energy. When you think of Capricorn energy, think about traditions. It's like things aren't the way how they used to be. And Pluto came in and completely transformed goals that we have for ourselves. Like, say, before people wanted to be lawyers and doctors, there was a certain standard when it comes to, say, how you see yourself in the world, what you want to aspire to. Where now people want to be YouTubers, content creators, things that are just untraditional, where Capricorn was a traditional energy and Pluto came in and completely transformed that. So wherever Pluto is, like, it shows a level of transformation, and a level of transformation that's in alignment with our real truth, whatever our truth is. And truth is different for everyone. Whatever your truth is and what you aspire to, Pluto is going to help you to remember that truth and transform your life to fit and be in alignment with that truth. You know, and from the constant transformation that Pluto brings in our lives, we're able to create stability for ourselves because we learn from past experiences. Pluto energy also deals with, say, psychology. When you think of going to a therapist or sitting with someone and them tapping into your deep emotions and how you feel, your emotions and different things like that influence your life, and you know, you changing your life based on changing your perspective, because you know, certain imprints when it comes to certain past experiences, and Pluto helping us to release that and transforming our lives, because we were able to release a certain perspective because we're able to dive deep and gain understanding and kind of reinvent ourselves or give birth to a new aspect of ourselves, because Pluto is a deep diving energy. But Pluto, like, you know, with the light and the dark, Pluto also has its dark side to it, its dark aspects to it. You know, and I think of, say, certain things that like happen in the world that's a little bit dark and scary, and things that we, you know, shy away from and not wanting to deal with. I feel like that's also that Plutarian energy. You know, it goes back to, say, death, the thing that we all fear, and then birth, something so beautiful. Pluto is all of that. The second thing that I want to jump into is Aquarian energy. So Aquarian energy reminds me of Pluto energy to a certain extent when it comes to, say, the shadowy aspect of Aquarian energy. Because when I first started diving into astrology, immediately I looked at the fact that Aquarius is opposing Leo. Like, Aquarian is on one side of the zodiac wheel and Leo is on the other. And Leo is ruled by the sun. So the sun is in Leo. So that leaves Aquarius, the side of, you know, Aquarian energy and darkness. When you think of Aquarian season, it's in the dark dead of winter. And whenever there is darkness, yes, darkness gives birth to light, but at the same time, things can be hidden in the dark. And a lot of the times people hide certain aspects of themselves in the dark, or hide certain behavior, destructive, cruel, nasty behavior in the dark. So when I think of Aquarian energy and the dark aspect of Aquarian energy, it does bring me to that shadowy aspect of Plutarian energy and how certain things happen in the secretness of the dark. But with Aquarius energy, Aquarian energy is a humanitarian energy. Aquarius is known for the humanitarian, because that same dark aspect of Aquarian energy and being able to rise from that dark into the light is where people tend to want to go back and help people who are where they're coming from, because they know how it feels to go through a thing. They know how it feels to suffer, to struggle, whatever it is that a person has been through. They want to go back and help those that are there, that have been there. So that's the whole humanitarian aspect of Aquarian energy. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. Originally, Saturn was the original ruler, but in time when we discovered new planets, you know, Uranus became one of the rulers. So with Aquarian energy, and Aquarius being an air sign, I think of how the mind is torn between, say, the traditional aspect of Saturn and us feeling a sense of responsibility for the past, or a connection to the past, traditions, and to keep the old ways going. And then I think of Uranian energy, which is futuristic and it's innovative. So I think of Aquarius energy and how the mind can experience, say, extremes as like a pendulum. It swings back and forth to the extreme of the past and the extreme of the future. This feeling of being responsible for others and then wanting nothing more than to be completely free. Aquarius energy also deals with the different groups that make up humanity. So when it comes to the third thing that I want to share with you, is about the Pluto and Aquarius generation, meaning like with Pluto moving into Aquarius, like, like what that will create. And to me, Pluto and Aquarius generation, I feel like we can see a lot of cults popping up. We could see a lot of cults popping up, or a lot of groups that are very, what's the word? Like, what is the word? It's something that my brother would say to me. Like, I could be very radical about certain things, like passionate and strong, where it's like, you can't straddle the fence with me when it comes to certain things. It's like, it's either you're in or you're out, but can't have it both ways. But anyways, with Pluto energy and Pluto being such a raw energy, and, Pluto and Aquarian generation, I feel like we could see a lot of radical groups forming, because Aquarius is groups. And then when I think of Aquarian, I think of humanitarian. So I think of, say, groups that are vulnerable because of being suppressed or going through certain things. And then certain people show up as leaders for these groups, and then creates, cults or radical groups. Like, it brings me, like, even with, say, Pisces moving into, Saturn moving into Pisces and creating structure to religion. I think of the whole Jim Jones situation, and, everybody following, and then, like, drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, it brings me to now how, people are looking for others who are speaking what it is that reflects what it is that they're feeling. So with Pluto and Aquarius, we find ourselves in these different groups and organizations. But with Pluto energy, like, Pluto energy is such a raw energy. I think of, like, in my newsletter, and if you haven't signed up for my newsletter, visit my website and scroll down to the subscribe section, and sign up for the monthly newsletters, where I go into details over whatever's happening that month. But in the newsletter, when it comes to the Pluto Aquarius generation, the way how I channeled this energy was, I saw it as the person joining a gang for protection because they just wanted to be a part of something, only to find out that you can't join this. You join the gang for protection, and yes, they let you in, but only to find out soon that you got to put in work. And put in work might mean committing crimes or getting your hands dirty in ways that you didn't think. You thought you were just going to hide off in the group, but now you're expected to participate in things with the group. Like, I think of, say, I'm getting some nefarious thoughts right now, but I think of, say, a person hanging with a certain crew, and the crew decides to go and do something very horrible. And because you're a part of it, like, you got to do what they do. Like, you got to be a part of this heinous crime that they're a part of. And that might be a bit extreme example, but in the media, we will see different extreme things come up with these different groups that are happening and popping up all over the place. And of course, the powers that be will capitalize on this in ways. This is where we could see some people who are truly innocent, but because of their following, can get into big trouble because they have a large following, and something happened that's isolated, but because they all follow this one thing, there could be major trouble from that. We live in a world where people, like, we're conditioned not to take accountability for ourselves and our actions. It's easier to say someone else made me do it. It's easier to give our power away to someone else. When I think of, say, the Pluto and Aquarius transit, and then Saturn and Pluto transit, I could easily see people doing wild things, and then, it's pushed on, well, this person told me this, or that person told me to do that, and I could just see a lot of that coming up. you know, a lot of that coming up, and it being a way how, say, the powers that be to manipulate the masses by, say you have these groups of people following different things. This is where you step in and you control the leaders like puppets. It's like, say, like, let's say, you know, this one person rules over the world, but silently ruling over the world by controlling all of the ambassadors and presidents and rulers of these different continents, countries, or whatever, and pretty much moving them like puppets. But the people who are following them feel like they're following this authentic person or thing, when really that person is being influenced to move them. The same way how, say, certain entertainers are paid to push certain things, whether it's like push certain pills or drugs or different things at different time, is what comes to mind when I think of this Pluto and Aquarius generation. I just think of like peer pressure and feeling peer pressure when it comes to the different groups and things that we associate ourselves with, and how you won't be able to straddle the fence when it comes to the different things that we associate ourselves with. It's like you can't say you're down with them and them. It's like it's either you're with this or you're with that. You can't pick a side, is what I'm picking up from this energy. It's like feeling forced to pick a side, and that's it. And of course, when it comes to these major planets, it's not until, say, the faster moving planets make certain aspects is when we'll see big things that stand out and we're like, oh, wow. But just with this energy alone, you know, I'm thinking of different groups popping up, whether groups of people are popping up and they're moving off the grid together, and different people are popping up and they're doing this and that together. But I just get extreme groups is what's coming up. And when it comes to, say, this energy, I think it's extremely important to not follow anyone or anything blindly or too close. Like, I think of like driving, like if you're following another car too close and they make a sudden stop, like you're going to run up in them, you're going to crash with them. So this is where you don't want to follow anyone or anything too close. And to me, what that means for me is be open to everything, but identify it with nothing. Like, let nothing be your truth, but be open to all things is what I'm getting. The fourth thing that I want to share with you is challenges when it comes to this energy. I feel like I pretty much jumped into the challenges when I was sharing the third thing. But to me, the challenges is extremes when it comes to groups. Extremes in the sense that, you know, this group is against that group. And it's like, yes, we've seen the group thing a lot as we entered into the Aquarian age. With Pluto energy here, I feel like it gets even more intense. It gets intense as, like I said, it's radical. And when I say radical, meaning people are willing to defend this thing to their own demise. Like, people are willing to like sacrifice themselves to defend these different beliefs, and beliefs that don't even come from them. Beliefs that might be coming from someone who is speaking some truth that they're in alignment with, but everything that person's saying isn't all of their truth. So this is where we feel we get roped in because we resonate with a good amount of what a person's saying, but we don't resonate with everything that they're saying. And before you know it, you find yourself doing what they're doing when that's not even who you really are. So to me, the challenges when it comes to this energy is like, yeah, peer pressure. Peer pressure is a challenge, I feel, when it comes to this energy. A challenge when it comes to this energy, I feel, is guilty by association, especially people who are in positions of, say, leadership. It's like you're in a position of leadership and certain people are following you or whatever it is that you're sharing or teaching. And it's like their actions are now your responsibility, when what it is that they did wasn't what you were pushing or encouraging. And then with technology also being a major influence, you know, I just see people, especially with the whole AI thing, and you can create an AI to mimic someone. I just see how easy it is for some people to get framed. Yeah, for people to get framed through the next 21 years. Just pay attention to how different groups will be formed. And I feel like some groups will be formed by implants, where it's like you think you're really following this person, but this person is getting paid to create this. Where eventually everybody is being guided like sheep towards the same direction. And this is where, you have to trust yourself and again, not follow anyone too closely. Be open to what others have to say, but then always check in with yourself and not limit yourself or put yourself in any specific boxes, because through fear and anger, we're being conditioned and forced in different groups and boxes. Like when I think of Aquarian energy brings me to that whole we found love in a hopeless place vibe. Meaning, because we've both been through this trauma, we bonded together and became friends just because of that. And because that's what brought us together in this friend group or this dynamic, this thing, that's all we talk about, because that's what keeps us together. So because that's what keeps us together, there's no rising towards the light. We're just in the dark, like, in the negative aspect of this thing, just dwelling on it, because that's where we found love. I think of the friendship or the relationship where you bond together over this bad thing that you both went through. And that's all you talk about. That's all you talk about. And if one wants to rise up towards the light, the other one pulls them down because they feel abandoned. So even in this whole Aquarian age energy, like when it comes to different groups that you associate yourself with, make sure that the group that you're associating yourself with is one that's rising towards truth, is one that encourages accountability, and not a place that validates you in the sense that they're saying what it is that you want to hear and making you feel heard, but at the same time, there's no healing, there's no rising from that, there's no reflecting on my role in it. Because for me, accountability comes with responsibility, and accountability and responsibility for me says if it's up to be, it's up to me. Yes, this happens to me, but I have power based on how I choose to respond to it and what I choose to do next. If I completely say this person did this to me and I'm waiting for them to give me this, that, or the next, then I'm under their control. I'm under their power because I'm waiting for them, opposed to me realizing this happened. It wasn't my fault, but it happened. And from it, I've learned this, and that. And from it, I've decided to dedicate my life to help others who've experienced this, and that, and help them to realize that this doesn't determine who they are. It may have been a part of their beginning, but it's not their ending. To me, that's a way how we could make the most of this energy, which brings me into the fifth thing that I want to share with you. Us making the most of this energy by not allowing the things that we've been through to determine who we are, to say who we are, but instead to use it as an opportunity to transform, because that's what Pluto energy is. It's a transforming energy. So we make the most of this energy by allowing ourselves to transform and evolve and grow, and not stay stagnant in the same space, or stay stagnant around others who validate us, but that's it. They validate what's happened to us, but there's no growth from here. And if there's no growth from here, that means that thing is going to keep happening. And also too, with this Pluto and Aquarius transit energy, we're going to see a lot of exposing. Like a lot of different groups and organizations will get exposed, will fall apart, just like how corporations fell apart with Pluto and Capricorn. So different groups and organizations will be exposed and fall apart. But like I was mentioning also too in my newsletter, it's like energy doesn't die. Like energy just moves from one host to another. So it's just like my physical form, or even the plant. Like to me, I see God as electricity, the electricity that's amplifying me, or, amplifying my characteristics based on the dimension that I'm in, the dimension that the plant in, or the animal is in. When the physical form dies, that energy doesn't go anywhere. It just transforms into something else. Like how Pluto energy is a transmuting energy. It doesn't die. So when we see certain major groups appear to get exposed and fall apart, they just find refuge in something else. And what I was sharing in the newsletter was how the nicotine industry, which was super powerful back in the day, so powerful that they had all the doctors on boards. Doctors were marketing cigarettes to their patients. They even had it to where science said that cigarettes were good for you. And one thing with science is that science can say whatever you want it to say, in the sense that you could choose to focus on certain data and dismiss other data and get the results that you want. Like, I can give you my formula, my equation that's going to get you to here, even though there's so many other possibilities. But, based on the funding and the research, you're going to get the outcome that I want you to get, because this is where I'm spending the money for the scientists to focus their attention. So back in the day, cigarettes, science said that cigarettes were good for people. Pregnant women was prescribed cigarettes. You had a headache, whatever was going on with you, the cigarettes could do it. It was so wild that, they had apple flavored cigarettes, for children. So when it comes to, say, the pharmaceutical industry, the nicotine industry, when it was too obvious that cigarettes are killing people, even though back then you had some conspiracy theorists, doctors who were saying, no, this isn't good, it's bad for the lungs, blah, blah, blah. But those conspiracy theorists, tin hat wearing doctors, and even people who had like dumb common sense to say, like, when I inhale it, it doesn't feel right, blah, blah, blah. Like, even though their dumb behinds was yelling that conspiracy, thing, like, no one didn't want to hear that, because the people in the white coats that we look up to, that we admire, like, they're doing it, so it must be good. And the science that we respect says it's good. And of course, with Pluto and Aquarius, Pluto and Capricorn, the last 15 years kind of demolished a lot of that, made us look at all of that with a little bit of a side eye. Like, I'm not listening to you just because you wore that coat or just because you have this title, because yes, you're educated, but you were educated to only see things this way. There's so many other ways to see things, but you were only educated to see it this way. So that isn't, that doesn't justify why I should only listen to you and not listen to me too. You know what I mean? So, when the nicotine industry died, hit a wall, because it was too obvious that the nicotine was, ending people's lives, taking people out, then it kind of, switched and morphed into the pharmaceutical industry, where with the pharmaceutical industry, now, doctors are doing what they were doing with the whole nicotine movement. So the point that I'm trying to make is that energy doesn't die. Like, when you think of, say, in America, slavery, it went from something that was out in the public, out in the open, and then it transformed into something that is human trafficking, done, people getting bid on through the internet, in ways that you wouldn't imagine, where you might think you're purchasing furniture, not you, but it might seem like people are purchasing furniture, but they're purchasing something else. So energy doesn't die. So yes, different organizations and things will be exposed, but they'll just morph into something else. And there's nothing for you to be afraid of hearing that, because with everything exists on, there's a duality to everything. With everything, there's the extreme, there's one extreme of it, and there's the other. So when you think of good and bad exists on the same plane, but just opposite ends. It's just like, say, Leo is on this end, Aquarius is on this end. They're both on the same plane, but opposing ends of that. So where we come in now, this is where our frequency, our vibration is important. Where we're placing our thoughts, the foods that we're consuming, us aligning ourselves to the side of the plane that we want to experience. That's how we can all be living here on Earth, but having completely different experiences of Earth. We could, two people could grow up in the same household and have completely different experience of that household, or grow up in the same neighborhood, have extremely different experience of the neighborhood, have the same parents, have extremely different experiences of the parents, because at the end of the day, like, we do have control, and the control we have is how we choose to respond to something and the frequency that we align ourselves with based on what we're holding within ourselves. So you make the most of this energy by, your frequency, like what are you vibrating to? Like, are you attracting, or are you a match for this over here or that over there? When I think of frequency and vibration, I think of like temperature, and how certain virus and bacteria can survive in certain temperature and they can't survive in other temperatures. So when you think of, like, say, being in a positive mood, that's a temperature that will attract other, like, things that will grow within that temperature. And when we're sad and depressed, it's a temperature that will grow other things. The universe is not biased. It gives us whatever we know we can have, or whatever we're feeling, or whatever we are in, what matches our frequency. That brings me back to, say, I'm not even going to go into the details of it, but like a day when I manifested, the universe blessed me with money through a client when I was in the salon, and the client gifted me $500. And from the moment I left the house, I remember construction work, my car wouldn't start, and construction workers yelling to me while I'm walking, "Smile, it's not that bad," because I tend to have a resting B face. But like, when it was said to me, I smiled, looked up, realized how beautiful the day was. And that kind of spiraled my day into a positive space, where maybe if I was down and depressed because of my car wouldn't start that day, and the money that I had to spend that day and all of that, like, if I had allowed that frequency to consume me, I wouldn't have been in alignment with the frequency of the person who wanted to give me that money, who actually wanted to give me more. But because I didn't let them know when my graduation was, and they were caught off guard, they gave me what they gave me, which covered the concerns that I had that day. So it's all about frequency, holding yourself in a positive vibration and making the most of this transit that's going to happen for the next 21 years to help you to, find your tribe. I think of, say, the wolf spirit animal, and how, the lone wolf, goes off and finds its own tribe, and how our vibe attracts our tribe. So when it comes to the people who we're attracting, the people who we're attracting is a reflection of the vibration we're holding. I think back how when Pluto was in Capricorn, it helped us to be honest about our definitions of success, our goals, our legacies, and certain responsibilities that we take on. With Pluto now here, to me, this will help us to look at the different groups we associate ourselves with, and why we're associating with ourselves with these groups. And just because we might have similarities with certain people doesn't necessarily mean that we have to force ourselves in a group with them, or in any group. When it comes to, say, the Pluto and Aquarian generation energy, two thoughts just came to mind. One thought came to mind as far as, say, it might be beneficial to not identify with any group, because then it forces you in a box that you can't get out of. And then I also think about how, we survive within numbers. So it's a really complicated thing that I'm seeing, that Spirit is showing me, because it shows me how, like, say, some groups of people will be forced to kind of live underground as technology is changing and different things are being forced upon us that's imposing on our rights. So some people might say, I'm not having it, and having to kind of like off the grid type of living is one thought that I'm having. And then another thought that I'm having is the people who are strongly identified with a certain kind of group, and then this group is being seen as villainized. So now everybody who was a part of that group, even though they didn't do anything wrong, they're now suffering the consequences of just being a part of that group. It brings me to, say, when there was a trucking convoy in Canada, and how people who donated money to the truckers who were protesting for, people's rights, how their bank accounts were frozen. And some people, their bank accounts were frozen because they supported that thing. I feel like even more of that is going to happen through the next 21 years as Pluto moves through Aquarius. And of course, when it moves into Aquarius energy on the 23rd, it's going to go back and forth before it fully stays in there. I don't remember the exact dates for that. I should have wrote that down. But one thing for sure with this transit, you will know who your real friends are. That's one thing for sure. You will know who your real friends are. And another thing is like the whole control thing with Pluto, how Pluto could be controlling, where you could find yourself trying to control your friends or your friends trying to control you, or having certain expectations of you or you having expectations of them that might be unrealistic and stem from, say, your own abandonment issues or different things you may have been through. But when it comes to, say, friend groups and things like that, I feel like friend groups will definitely be tested throughout this transit. Friend groups will definitely be tested. When it's all said and done, people will know who their friends are, because it's no more just saying you're a part of the group because you're a part of the group. It's like different things will come up that will make it clear who's a part of the group and who isn't a part of the group. I don't know what I think of this energy. I just think of like gang vibe, like gang vibes. Like, but it's going to be interesting to watch how it plays out. But yeah, to watch how it plays out, because I feel like two things can happen. Like, we'll see extreme groups, and then of course those of us who have discernment and trust the universe and allow the universe to guide us will know that we don't have to hide in any groups or follow anyone blindly. And the only thing that we should be following is our premonition, is our higher self, is the guidance that can only come from within us, and not allow fear to cause us to pose up or click up or link up with any group or organization for the sake of it. Because I feel when it's all said and done, there will be consequences when it comes to, say, being a part of certain groups and organizations. So yeah, you guys, that was my Pluto in Aquarius message. This energy feels so, like, I'm not concerned about it, because I'm not a cliquey person myself, and I like freedom, and I like for other people to have freedom, because if they're free, then I'm free, and they're not clinging to me type of vibe is how I feel. But at the same time, yeah, this is some interesting energy. It's interesting energy as I think about it, and then, say, yeah, Saturn just moving into a Pisces for the next 2 years or so. But then, of course, many transits to come to align up with this that'll create different things. Because I think of, say, how Uranus is transiting Taurus and how that's shaking up our world when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to finances, when it comes to a lot of things. So with even that matching up with this, I can see how, natural disasters and things happen that forces us into these groups. Like, I think of, say, like Mad Max era, like Walking Dead, don't be scared type of vibe, where people are clicked up in different groups for survival, because what appears to be natural things that happen with the earth or the climate or whatever, where people, are forced into these groups for the sake of survival. But like something about getting into groups for the sake of survival. But wow, this is interesting. And I guess as time go by, we'll see how it goes. And of course, I look forward to making more videos on it as different transits is being made with other signs and it influencing and playing a part with it. But I could just see how, Uranus and Taurus energy can definitely, there be something that helps to feed into this energy when it comes to, say, the different group endeavors and things like that. But with the whole Pluto energy and the transmutation or these different groups and organizations not fully coming to an end, when something falls apart and dies, it's important to know that it's match, something that's within its likeness will appear but appear in a way that you least expect. It's like how the nicotine industry, you know, kind of appeared to disappear, but instead it morphed into the pharmaceutical industry, something else that we, you know, look up to, trust, or for the longest looked up to, trust, and, you know, felt safe with. So energy doesn't die, it just transforms to the next. So this is where we don't want to stress ourselves out trying to kill anything. Instead, align yourself with the frequency that matches the experience that you're trying to have. You guys, such a pleasure sharing this with you as usual. Remember, if you want to check out the extended version of this where I go over your sun and rising sign and how this Pluto transit, you know, might be influencing it, that video will be located on Patreon. If you'd like to book a reading with me, the link for that is in the description box, along with the link for the Patreon. But please let me know you're here with me by dropping me a purple heart in the comment box below. I would love to hear from you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Love yourself as if your life depended on it, because it does. Take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.